Happy Friday. Good morning, Jared. We have made it to the end of the week, or some would say the
Woo!
beginning of the football weekend, because we had college football week 3, NFL week 2. We had Thursday night football last night. How are ya? Happy
Yes,
Friday. Friday, some
we
would say.
did. Happy Friday. Guys in the chat today, everyone be really nice to Lauren. Give her compliments. Make her feel loved. She had a rough day moving her life
Horrible day
yesterday.
yesterday.
I know, and I'm
Horrible
here.
day.
You're. This is a safe space, as it always is. But everyone be
Thanks,
extra nice to
Gerard.
Lauren today. Just pay her
Thank
compliments
you.
and tell her how awesome she is.
Yeah, I'm honestly going to spare people the details. Just know
We don't
I've
have to
moved
get
across
into
the
it.
country 4 times, and it was the worst experience that I've ever had in my
Moving
life. And then
sucks.
now I'm
I
in
could speak.
Boston
It
because I am
sucks.
covering the main Boston College game this weekend,
It's
which I'm
exciting.
really
Shout
excited
out to
about.
Boston.
Yeah, really excited about. And we have another ACC game to talk about tonight. Louisville taking on Florida State. So we're going to get
We
into that
do.
in a little bit. That may or may not be my play of the day. But a lot to get into before that. First of all, Thursday night football reactions. That literally, Jared, I tried to watch it on the plane on the way here. The plane
You were having
Delta does
trouble.
not have Amazon TV. It's devastating. So I just have to
Not a lot
watch
of
like
places
I
do.
obviously, yeah. I mean, I feel like everywhere should subscribe to Amazon Prime because they did a really good job with the broadcast last
Yes.
night. But we do have NFL Week 2 slate. We're going to get into that. Then your college football picks, because you won't be on the show tomorrow. I'm giving out my college football picks
Yes.
tomorrow. So yeah, let's get right into it. Let's bet it. Thursday night football reactions. First night of Amazon Prime Thursday night football. Felt like a playoff game for me in week 2 from the recaps that I read about. And I also watched like the 15-minute highlight reel recap too, just to feel like I experienced the Thursday night football game live. But, I also had Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy team, so I was keeping close track of that. Jalen Watson, though, that 99-yard pick of Justin Herbert, that game went from being back and forth to all Chiefs, baby. The Chargers scored late, missed the onside kick. Just your thoughts overall on the first Amazon Prime Thursday night football game.
Fantastic job by the crew. Al Michaels, nice to have him back in the booth. Which I mean,
Mm-hmm.
a bit of a different vibe with him and Kirk Herbstreit. I mean, we're so used to Al being with, either it's really been Chris Collinsworth, I guess, the last decade or so. So the vibe I think was good. People were complaining about like the logo or some other stuff. I don't really care about any of that stuff. I
Everyone wants to
think,
say something about. Everyone wants to say boo about something. You know what I mean? Like people just want to say things.
yeah, and I heard the boomers out there were really having trouble finding Amazon Prime, which that's predictable, I would say.
It's the way of
They
the
didn't.
future, baby.
They just kind of turned on their TV and thought it was going to be like a channel on cable. Not quite. So, north of 50, my mom wouldn't have had any chance of finding this game if she wanted to watch it. She would have been lost. But we love her anyway. The actual game itself. Oh, and I'll make one more comment, I guess, about Amazon Prime, because it is, I think it is the first of what seems to be this evolution, I guess, of how sports are watched
Really
on
cool.
TV. Yeah, and again, Amazon, it does seem like I do have a bit of a toe in the finance world, and Amazon and their mergers and acquisitions and all the fun things they want to do. You're going to see more of things like this, ventures like this into sports, and to get sports onto TV in different platforms. But Ryan Fitzpatrick was outstanding as an analyst.
And
That's
his suit game
really
was
the only
fantastic as
comment.
well.
Oh,
His suit game
he's a
was
very
fantastic.
eccentric individual. But he was fantastic on TV. So I would say overall positive for Amazon. You didn't miss much though, other than the game. You didn't miss much like bells and whistles with their broadcast.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. Looking forward to seeing Thursday Night Football week 3 next week, because I'll
Yes.
actually be at home, which will be really nice. Now the AFC West odds: Kansas City favored still, plus 115. The Chargers at plus 205. Denver plus 450, and then the Raiders 7.5 to 1 odds. That's going to be a really tough division to finish at the top. I'm looking forward to seeing more of those divisional matchups heading into the weeks to come. Speaking of divisional matchups, we got 4 of them this week. First one starting with the Bucks taking on the Saints. The Bucks have had this, or other way around. Saints have had the Bucks number over the last couple of years, especially Tom Brady's number. Both of them looking to solidify their spot on top of the NFC South after this one. We saw rust from the Saints, Jared, in Week 1 against the Falcons. First time we saw some of these guys playing together. Defense had a really tough time stopping the run. They didn't sack Marcus Mariota even one time. And Jameis Winston only had 24 passing yards in the first half. No O-line protection. Michael Thomas was great. But the Bucks, I know they also have a few O-line injuries. Brady was sacked twice against the Cowboys. But, at the same time, it's going to be really interesting to see if the Saints still have Tom Brady's number or if Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks can really get it going and solidify their place on top of the division.
Yeah, there's some interesting things about this game. So first and foremost is the injury concerns for Tampa. I mean, it's almost like they've already played an entire season, or they're in the midseason. I'm looking at their offensive depth chart right now, and all 5 receivers have a Q next to it, meaning questionable. Yeah. Now, most of them will play. Godwin's the one I think that won't play.
Yeah.
Gage, upside, trending in the right direction. Julio Jones, that one I would say is a coin flip. I think Mike Evans will play, but he's going to be limited, and he's been limited by Marshawn Lattimore in his career, who excels against those bigger, bulkier wide receivers. It's the fast twitch speed guys that Lattimore struggles with. And then you got Leonard Fournette limited with a hamstring. I think he's going to play. Donovan Smith, left tackle, limited with an elbow injury. It looked like a pretty gruesome elbow injury too. The one that he got kind of wrenched, in between 2 guys in that Sunday night game. So just some really negative things. Even though Tampa Bay won the game, their defense looked fantastic. Just some very negative things to take with you from that performance against Dallas. Tristan Wirfs is still banged up too. So I don't know how healthy Tampa is. Meanwhile, on the other side, this is a game and a matchup that New Orleans has excelled in. Now, their safeties are a little different than last year. Some of the defensive personnel is a little shifted, but it's still Dennis Allen, and it's still a very talented defense against the Tampa offense that has issues up front, that has issues at skill position. They still have Tom Brady, though. I mean, I guess that to me, that's the crux of this handicap. Can Tom do it all with a very banged up, limited, supporting cast? And he's really struggled in this spot. 0-4 against the spread in the regular season against the Saints. That's why you've seen this number move off 3. So I would lean New Orleans here, and I think it's even a better teaser spot to get it through those 2 key numbers.
Yeah, Tampa Bay is only 1-7 straight up in its last 8 games in New Orleans. That is pretty crazy when you think about it. Another game, so the Saints have had the Bucks number. Another team that has had the Colts number is the Jags. The Colts in this game only laying 4 points. Obviously, last year, Week 18, what was the spread? 13.5 that the Colts were laying. Now it's only 4. Yeah. The 2022 season did not start how Indy wanted it to. They had a winnable game in Week 1 last week against the Texans, made a ton of mistakes. That game ended in a tie. And now they have a bad taste in their mouth for 2 reasons coming into this game. One of them, the Jags knocked them out of the playoffs last year. And 2, they started the season 0-1 after thinking that they were probably going to start the season 1-0. And honestly, Week 1 for the Colts, I don't know if you felt like this too, were more so costly mistakes than the Colts completely struggling. I feel like maybe that comes from a little bit of rust because they still had 517 total yards. Houston only had 299. And Matt Ryan, pretty good debut for 352 yards. Jonathan Taylor ran for 161. Pittman Jr. had 121 receiving yards. The difference for me was a few drop passes and a missed field goal, right? That ended up resulting in a tie for that game, more so than the Colts actually struggling. They just need to shake that rust off heading into Week 2.
Yeah, and Pittman's, held out of practice this week with a quad injury. Pierce, you mentioned, out. Concussion. Very tough to handicap that. I don't know if he's going to play this week. Meanwhile, there's only one team in the NFL that does not have one key player on the injury report this week, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. You could say they're the healthiest team in the NFL.
It's because they're young, baby. Those young boys bounce back.
Got them young Jaguar, that young Jaguar
Bucks.
blood. So that is a very strong pot. And again, it's only week 2, so the injuries in my eyes shouldn't be this big of a concern. But what have we seen in every year in the preseason? It just, these guys are already at the point where they're not 100%. Even if they are not on the injury report, they're bruised, they're battered, because that first game, when they haven't had a preseason, can be really tough to recover from. So this is the injury and the health and how teams bounce back after their first real physical test, because these guys literally haven't done anything in the preseason. They had 3 games, and hardly any of them even play. So the health and wellness, mental and physical, is clearly in the forefront here. Now, when I do look at the Colts, when I dug into that box score, there wasn't a lot good. But I think a lot of it is what you said: drop passes,
mistakes. It was mistakes.
Yeah, and their defense, who signed Shaq Leonard in the offseason, or actually, excuse me, they had Shaq Leonard. He changed his name, but he was a formidable player for them. Didn't play well on the injury report. The guy they signed was Yannick Ngakoue. Didn't play well, and the Colts did not have a very strong pass rush against the Texans, and that's why Houston was able to stay in that game and almost win that game. So those are things that Indy has to clean up, because this is a spot that they have struggled in. Also, the temperature is going to be almost 100 degrees humidity with all the, the real feel on the field in Jacksonville on Sunday.
Yeah.
There's one team that prepares in that and practices in that, and hopefully the Colts are prepared for it. You would think Frank Reich maybe will be, but you look at his record against the Jags in his career as a head coach, and it ain't good. 1-6-1 against the number. So, no, it ain't good. So there are some issues here, and I could see this line moving towards Jacksonville if the sharp money thinks the Jags can keep this one close. But there are some things to point in the direction of the Jags that are very positive.
You mentioned a trend. Colts are both 0-4 straight up and against the spread at Jacksonville under Frank Reich. You don't love to see that.
That's unbelievable. And I'd be very curious the timing of those games. Are they in September when it's 100 degrees in muggy Jacksonville, or are they in December?
That
the
deep
one last year was in December.
Yeah, I got a trend. Sean is here, though. Sean Green. Let's bring him in, because I know he has plays on the next 2 divisional games that we are talking about. And I'm so excited for week 2 of NFL. Sean Green, host of the Sports Gambling Podcast, chatting some of his best bets this week. Sean, how are you? Happy Friday, as we like to call it. How are you doing?
Happy Friday indeed. I'm doing great. Had a really good NFL week 1 and looking to kill it here week 2. Let's go.
Yeah, we were just talking about the Colts-Jags game. Obviously, the Colts laying 4 points in this spot. How do you see this game playing out? Because the Colts have 2 chips on their shoulder. One of them starting 0-1 after thinking that they are probably going to start 1-0, but a few dropped passes, few mistakes kind of led them to lose that game. And then the second chip, because the Jags knocked them out of the playoffs last year in Week 18 when they were laying 13.5 points in that game. Do you see the Jags being able to take advantage of the Colts? Because at this point, they have their number.
Oh, yeah. And the Colts must not listen to the Sports Gambling Podcast, because I had the Texans winning that game outright. So I was a little bummed when they ended up tying. I'll take it. But I was also on the Jags week 17, because the Colts never play good in Jacksonville. The last time they won a game down there was 2014. You got to go all the way back to there. So, and matchup wise too, I don't know if you guys hit on it before I hopped on, but Michael Pittman Jr. Wasn't practicing yesterday. DeForest Buckner wasn't practicing yesterday. Their cornerback Kenny wasn't practicing either. So, and did the Jags look great in Washington? Not particularly, but they really blew a couple opportunities there. I like them. I like the Jags a lot at home. I think they're a live dog. And then you have Doug Peterson going up against his former assistant Frank Reich. So I think the Jags will be pretty motivated here.
Oh, I didn't even think about the Doug Peterson Frank Reich angle.
Yeah, me neither.
Because it's Doug's first year. That's another little strand to pull from this game that is going to be very fascinating as an Eagles fan. I know, sir, you hold these two in very high regard.
Always got those angles.
Yeah, you had to get that. We had to get that drop in there. If you want, we can get a Philly special drop a little later.
I know our producer just comments in the chat box. Classic Eagles fan pickup by Sean on that one.
Of course. Have to get that in. All right, so we're on
Love
opposite
it.
sides of this next game, this Seattle-San Francisco game. First of all, congratulations, Will Dissly. That first touchdown prop you guys nailed the other night was some legendary stuff. And I just really think it's a sell high spot for Seattle, Sean. Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, so there's a lot of conflicting things. Now, normally in this situation, I'd be with you. I'd be selling high on Seattle, but you're not even getting the value of selling high. You know what I mean? Like, they're still catching 8.5 points in a division game. Now, normally you'd want to fade a team like the Seahawks, a big Monday night win. Now they're going on the road. Here's the difference. You're going up against Trey Lance. I mean, Trey Lance is laying the same number almost at home in a division game that Aaron Rodgers is. Aaron Rodgers back-to-back MVP. Trey Lance starting his 4th game. I just don't see it yet with Trey Lance. And maybe he completely balls out and I look like an idiot. That's certainly in the realm of possibility. But, there's a lot yet to be seen with Trey Lance. George Kittle looks like he's going to be out again. The rain looks like it could be an issue as well.
Yeah.
And I think Seattle played a pretty clean game. No Elijah Mitchell as well. So I'm struggling to just see how San Francisco is going to put up a ton of points on this 49ers team. Or 49ers
honestly, there's something about the 49ers this year that like the rain cloud just wants to follow at this point because they played in torrential downpour last week.
That's just
this
bad
week,
luck.
Apparently, I mean, again, it is San Francisco. Meteorologists are not paid on accuracy. Who knows if it's actually going to rain? Because literally, I feel like it's sunny every day. And no, it's sunny in Philadelphia. That's a different city. But you know what? Who cares? But I told Jared this earlier this week. If someone would have bet me however much money to say that at the end of week 1, the only team from the NFC West with a win would be the Seahawks, I would have been like, okay, go take a hike.
We'll put a beer bet on this one, Sean.
Literally,
go to Vegas at some point and hang out.
Weird start for the
we'll
NFC
put a beer
West.
On this one.
I know. Weird start for the NFC West. Weird start for the NFC North, too, because the Vikings absolutely obliterated the Packers last weekend. Aaron Rodgers looked lost without Devontae Adams. And the Bears were able to get things done in biblical floods, as Jared likes to say, against the 49ers. But the Packers, for me, left a lot to be seen against the Vikings. Aaron Rodgers finished with 22 completions, 195 total passing yards, but he had no one to throw to. And I know his O-line was banged up. He was running around a little bit. He was sacked 4 times. But your expectations this week, you see the Packers bouncing back, getting a win against NFC North foe.
Yeah, I do, which is tough because I'm high on the Bears for the season, at least compared to how low everyone else was, and they were the most bet under win total. I gave them out on the money line week 1. But I do think this is a great spot, for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Aaron Rodgers off a loss, it's like 38-15 against the spread. Yeah. He's 22-5 against the Bears. Like, he just owns the Chicago Bears. The offensive line for the Green Bay Packers does worry me. I think that really is their biggest weakness. I think they're going to be able to figure out the receiver stuff at some point this season. But I just didn't see a ton from the Bears offense as well. So yeah, I like the Packers here in a bounce back spot.
Yeah, I think the one thing about that Bears defense, too, is they were run on really heavily in that game against the Niners, especially in the first half. And then things, again, the second half, it's really hard to take anything from that second half. I think Green Bay is going to pound it right down Chicago's throat. I think you're going to see those 2 backs, Dylan and Jones, back there at the same time. And Aaron's just going to say, all right, guys, help me out because I ain't got a lot of help on the outside. All right, this Steelers-Pats game, this game's been kind of the push and pull game with the number. A lot of people expected it to move towards Pittsburgh after what we saw against Cincinnati, and then New England struggled against Miami, but it's kind of moved in the other direction. You're kind of grabbing the value here with the Steelers as a home dog.
Yeah, I like the Steelers. Again, I think they're a surprise team. Like their win total over was on them week 1 as one of my locks. I just don't see why Mac Jones, banged up, dealing with back spasms, missed practice yesterday because of an illness. Why is he a road favorite in a Matt Patricia offense? I mean, Matt Patricia's still like the play calling. What are we doing here? I just don't.
At least it's not Joe Judge.
I am a Lions.
Yes.
I am a Lions fan. And when he was the coach of the line, oh my God, I mean, the lines are horrendous in general, but just with him at the helm, it was horrible, horrible. I digress.
Yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing as a play caller. Now, normally, Belichick owns Tomlin, so that would be something, and then Belichick off a loss. Okay, but it's a back-to-back road spot. It's the home opener for the Steelers. I think that they're going to be up for this. Now, they don't have TJ Watt, but Minka Fitzpatrick and the rest of the defense still look pretty good. And Brian Flores was 2-0 against the Pats last year. Now, Brian Flores is, of course, he's somehow been demoted. He couldn't find a job, got fired late. He's hanging out as their linebackers coach. He's going to be able to work up a good game plan against Mac Jones. I just think the Pats are going to struggle to score. And I'm still wrapping my head around how are they a road favorite? I just don't see
idea.
They looked horrible last week. I don't know how they were road favorite. We talked about that on our Pickswise playbook show too. Just the fact that they're coming into this game laying points, we were like, what is going on with some of these odds makers? But Vegas does know best at this point. The Bengals taking on the Cowboys. I know this is one of your last bets that you have heading into this weekend, but the Bengals laying the points against the Cowboys, obviously coming off of a tough loss against the Steelers. Joe Burrow was running for his life. He was sacked 7 times, threw 4 interceptions, one of them being a pick 6 on his first pass attempt of the 2022 season, which if you start that way, there's only one way you can go, and that's up. So that's good news for Joe Burrow. And at this point, the only place that the Cowboys can go is down because, their defense might keep them in this game, but after the last game, they went 3 of 15 on third downs, and Dak Prescott now needs thumb surgery. If you are a Cowboys fan or a part of the Cowboys organization, do you toss in the flag at this point, or are you still trying to win this season?
I can't speak for Cowboys fans. I don't like Cowboys fans. Don't care for them. So I can't even put myself in the mental makeup of being a Cowboys
go there.
fan.
It's like the upside down for you, Sean.
Exactly.
Stay away from that.
Here's what I'll say. Bengals, again, Joe Burrow is a good quarterback. Good quarterbacks are good off of losses. Burrow 10-2 against the number, coming off a loss. Love that. Now, normally I'm not a big road non-conference road favorite guy, but I think you have to make an exception here when you factor in the injuries. Not only Tyron Smith still without him, they also lost their left guard. And, obviously no Dak, Cooper Rush getting the start. I just think Joe Burrow, I mean, you saw it. They kind of turned it on the second half, even against that Steelers defense. Like, they really can move the ball. There's one way to look at it. Like, they had a -5 turnover differential and almost won that game. Some would argue should have won that game. Again, I was on the Steelers, so I wouldn't make that argument. But I think the Bengals are just gonna really go down there and just slaughter them. And the Bengals defense is really pretty good as well. I know people just say, oh, it's Mitch Trubisky, blah, blah, blah. But like, they did a good job of slowing down Najee Harris, who to me is better than Zeke and Tony Pollard. So I think they're really, and they're going to be super motivated. So I like the Bengals here. Kind of a chalky play, but I think it's a good spot for them.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that. I'm excited for week 2. It feels weird that we're like finally here. I always get confused because it's week 3 of college football, week 2 of NFL, but things are back. What did you think about the Thursday Night Football broadcast last night on Amazon? First Thursday Night Football Amazon Prime broadcast.
It was interesting to see Jeff Bezos in a box up there. Him and Roger Goodell, I don't know, talking about taking over the world. Whatever those two were getting into.
That was probably, like the meme with the guy like whispering in the girl's ear, and the guy's just like sitting, and the girl's just like, what? Like, that was a meme waiting to happen.
There needed to be like a Dr. Evil moment with like the pinky or something. $1 million.
What do you think they were talking about? What, if you had to guess, what were they talking about? What were they talking about? Like some like weird like trend.
Yeah, maybe Bezos really likes Jags as a home dog. I don't know. Bezos doesn't really strike me as a big football guy.
Not at all. He strikes me as a guy
that
like.
Have you guys ever seen
wine and
I need to look up this Jeff Bezos meme. I need to look up this Jeff Bezos meme for you guys before we let you go because it's so funny. Hold on. You guys just chat amongst yourselves.
Sean, who do you like in college football this weekend, Sean?
Oh, that's a good question as well. I do like Penn State laying 3 against Auburn.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay,
I'll be
We got
honest.
Penn
I'm a
State.
little bit weird about that game. We can talk about it offline.
Yeah.
Go
this
ahead,
was
Lauren.
Jeff
Do your
Bezos
thing.
when he started Amazon. This is what. Wait, where is it? This was him when he started Amazon, and this is him now. Is this a
I mean,
joke?
listen, money will do that to you. Money will do that to you.
People say you're not ugly, you're just poor. So you know what? That was Jeff Bezos back then. Sean, we so appreciate you for coming on. Thank you so much.
Sean's not ugly,
everything
just
NFL
poor, right?
Week 2 with us.
Exactly. Well, wait till week 2. That'll be good.
There we go.
Oh my
Less
gosh.
poor after week 2.
Yeah, let's more
All
after
right.
week 2. Let's win some of those bets. Thanks so much, Sean. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Good
Take
stuff,
it easy,
bud.
guys.
Always great to talk to the
That was Sean
The
Green on the
Godfather
Sports
of the
Gambling
SGP.
Podcast.
Love
$1
it.
million after this week is we're hoping to have. Okay. Let's get into some college football week 3 bets. I will give out my plays tomorrow, but Gerard, you have your show with Fox Sports tomorrow, so you are giving out your college football slate today. Please let me know who you have. Let's go through your slate.
Oh my God. I love this college football slate. This is a
Love
really
that
fun
for you.
slate.
Go ahead.
So let's start with a game that I think has a little more starch to it than just like your average game. Like this Nebraska Oklahoma game in Lincoln, the first game post Scott Frost, is going to be, I don't want to call it like the most intense game of the year because there's been a bunch of games so far that have been really intense, but there's some extra drip in this game because everyone wants to see what Nebraska looks like after Scott Frost, because let's be honest, the talent at Nebraska is really good. Casey Thompson, the quarterback's played really well so far. They've got, 3-4 star guys pretty much all over the field. Scott Frost has done a great job recruiting. He just isn't a good football coach. And I think I'm curious to see how much upside there is after Scott Frost leaves. Because I think if you look at Oklahoma, I can see a lot of similarities in terms of talent. They both have transfer quarterbacks that have come in and played relatively well. I think both defenses are average, maybe slightly below average. The difference, again, is I think Scott Frost was holding back the talent at Nebraska, while Brent Venables has done a really good job of boosting some of the talent, at least so far. That being said, home games against UTEP and Kent State, this is his first true road test as his third game as a head coach. I kind of think Nebraska comes out and plays well here. And I think that's what the market has shown me, from plus 16 at an open a couple weeks ago, and now it's down to 10.5 after the market's kind of nibbled away at this. I bet Nebraska. I love them in this spot. I think the upside with the interim head coach, Mickey Joseph, high ceiling, low floor, and I think we know what we're getting with Oklahoma, and I do think as a home dog, I'd be willing to take the points here. I like Washington at home against Michigan State. I love Kalen DeBoer. I think he's done a fantastic job as the head coach of Washington. I know you love reality TV reunion shows, right, Lauren? Which is your favorite one? You like the reunion shows?
To be honest with you, I
TV?
don't have time to watch reality TV shows. I wish that I did. I would watch the Kardashians. I just don't.
There you go.
I literally football, sports, and sleep is my life motto.
That doesn't sound bad.
And then basketball.
But I understand that.
Yeah, no, it's honestly not bad.
I know you like to indulge, just like our friend Jim Monis with the reality TV. Well, we have a reunion show taking place in Seattle between Kalen DeBoer, the head coach, and Michael Penix Jr., who was the quarterback at Indiana when DeBoer was the OC at Indiana, when they had their great run. And Indiana became this, not like powerhouse, but compared to Indiana standards, well above expectation. Well, now these two are reunited, and the offense has been fantastic. A 58% success rate, top 10 efficiency rating through their first 2 games. They haven't played, high quality opponents, but for a new head coach and a new quarterback transferring in to be that impressive in games 1 and 2, I think is noteworthy. Meanwhile, you have a very talented wide receiver group for Washington in a plus matchup against a Michigan State secondary that was like historically bad last year. It was so bad that Mel Tucker decided that he wanted to start coaching the secondary this offseason. So we'll see what that looks like with Michigan State going on the road. That's been a struggle, especially for the quarterback, Peyton Thorne. His quarterback rating dropped significantly on the road compared to his home games. And Sparty hasn't done well in the Pacific time zone, 0-5 heading west in the last 35 years. So these are just some really conflicting spots where the matchup edges, I think offense for Washington against the Michigan State defense is really positive, and Sparty's offense kind of loses a little bit of that hum when they go on the road out west. So we're going to lay it with Washington. I like Minnesota. Listen, there's not much to this handicap other than Colorado is one of the worst teams in the country. Period. End of story. And
You're
Minnesota,
laying 26 points. That is a hefty point total.
And look at the total of the game. It's only, once it moves across, it's only 47.
Crazy.
I mean, Colorado, if they get to double digits in this game, I'll be impressed. Minnesota has the fewest yards allowed per game in the country this year and the most yards gained. Is that good? You're number one in yards allowed and yards gained in the
Last time I
FBS
checked,
ranking.
that ain't good.
After 2 weeks, that's pretty solid. All right, so we're gonna lay it with Minnesota again. I just think the talent mismatch here in the trenches, in the backfield. Tanner Morgan, Ibrahim for Minnesota, fantastic. There's just nothing for Colorado heading to Minnesota in this game. I think they are in for a tough day. And then finally, this is an interesting game out west. BYU at Oregon. Now, when I look at this game on paper, I think to myself, man, BYU's got some really nice wins on their resume. The one against Baylor is fantastic. They're catching 3.5 against an Oregon team that just got blasted by Georgia. And then they beat Eastern Washington, which is, nothing that spectacular. But the market hasn't moved at all towards BYU. And it hasn't moved off of that key number of 3 at all either. You would think after BYU's emotional, huge win over a ranked team in Baylor, they would at least get the hook shaved off and we go from 3.5 to 3. It hasn't happened. This line has pretty much been flat, 3.5. There's maybe a 4 out there if you do some looking. But I just really don't like BYU's offense heading into Oregon and facing this really good Oregon defense that, even though they got blasted by Georgia, the analytics say that they held up okay. They just gave up some big plays, and then their offense did nothing, put their defense in some really tough spots. But their defense, per play and, the line yards per rush and some of those, trench metrics that I look at, they weren't bad. So I think Oregon's front's going to control it here, and I think BYU's without their 2 best receivers again. They had a freshman go off for 120 yards last week. He also threw a touchdown on a gadget play. I just don't see BYU scoring a lot in this game. And I think Oregon, with Bo Nix at home, he's been better. I think they're going to control the tempo. And I think Oregon wins and covers this one.
You're hoping Bo Picks looks more like Bo Nix this week. That's going to be very interesting to see how that game plays out. Let's Bet It, presented by Superbook Sports, the best place to bet football this season. Download the Superbook Sports app or visit superbook.com right now, and they will match your first bet up to $1,000, whether it wins, Jared, or it loses. That's pretty good last time I checked. Plus, they already have lines up for every single NFL game for the rest of the season, all the way through week 18. It's the #1 voted sports book in Vegas, now available in the palm of your hands. Visit superbook.com to sign up. All right. Love Superbook. Make sure to check it out, guys. And Let's Bet It is presented by Superbook. So get on in there. Let's get into our best bets of the day and the Pickswise.com 3-star play of the day. So when we go to the website, who do we have for the 3-star play of the day?
Well, I will say this, and we discussed the play of the day rules before the show and how we're going to approach it today. I would be lying to you if I said my play of the day is an independently researched play. I'm taking one of the 3-star plays from the site. And I think in general, it is okay for us to use our Pickswise colleagues as people that we rely on a day-to-day basis. For example, last night, Clev TA, tip of the cap, sir. He might not be watching. He deserves to sleep in after a fantastic handicap of the Chargers-Chiefs game last night. First half under. That was a 3-star winner. And I'm assuming he'll have something for the Monday night game shortly. There's a lot of Saturday games in college football. There's a couple of baseball games tonight. I'm piggybacking on one of them from Mark Lammy. The other one is Chadwick Wetzel's run line in the Red Sox-Royals game. And again, a ton of college football on the site. So it's okay to just not bet on a Friday and lock in all your extra games for Saturday. But we will give you a play for today because, again, it is the play of the day, not the play of tomorrow.
Last time I checked, the pod is not the pot. Shit or
not the play of tomorrow.
Jared. Yeah, shit or get off the pot. Okay, time for our play of the days. I'll start with mine because this is honestly just a gut feeling for me, and it's Florida State going up against Louisville. I'm actually betting
Go for it.
the money line, and I am betting the spread. The spread is the best bet of the day, though, for me. They're laying 2.5 points against Louisville, and I just look at a place like this. Florida State is reeling after their win against LSU. That was an exciting game. That was a great start to the season for them, and I think that they're going to bring that against a Louisville team who's really struggling, especially with giving yards or letting. Wow, I cannot speak today, Jared. Yesterday was a long day.
Take a deep breath.
Against a Louisville team who is not good at defending the run. And you look at a team like Florida State, they have 3 backs that can probably each put up at least 100 yards a game. And I know Malik Cunningham scares me a little bit. He's a very good quarterback. He's a very mobile guy. But at the same time, Florida State, they have so much talent on their team that they can be able to destroy Louisville both on the run, or both by running the football and by throwing the football. I'm laying the points here with Florida State. They're going to come off of that win against LSU and just keep that momentum going here into week 3 of the college football season. What about you? Your best bet of the day. Who you got?
Well, I am taking a page out of the Lauren Jabbar playbook here, and I'm putting on my Doppler radar hat.
Love that.
I love the Doppler radar. There is one scenario in Major League Baseball where if the Doppler radar is pointing in a certain direction, there is an easy bet to be made. And it is happening at Wrigley Field today because the wind is blowing out to left. And
the
when
wind
the wind is blowing out to left at Wrigley, the over is a bet. As long as the pitching matchup and the offense is kind of suited. I don't love this Rockies offense, but again, the wind is blowing out to left. And usually when that happens, the totals are in the 9s or the double-digit ranges at Wrigley Field. It was 7.5. Now it's 8.5. If you look hard, you might be able to find a flat 8 in the market. You'll have to pay for it, but they are available. But my point being, 8 or 9 runs for the wind blowing out at Wrigley Field, I feel like even if the pitching matchup is pretty solid, I'm still going to take a really close look at this bet. Well, guess what? The pitching matchup is not very solid.
Yeah.
Herman Marquez, Marcus Stroman, the last time these two teams faced each other, and this was actually the pitching matchup, the game ended with 11 runs. Marquez has allowed the second most earned runs of any pitcher in the league. Stroman has allowed at least 4 in 2 of his last 4 outings. And then the bullpens, which is really, to me, the crux of this handicap, because anytime you're betting a full game over, you have to take a full look at the entire roster, including the bullpens. Well, the worst and the 8th worst bullpen ERAs in baseball this season, Colorado and Chicago. Mark Lammy gets credit for this pick. It's an afternoon game. For me, it's a morning game here on the West Coast. But for everyone on the East Coast, it's an afternoon game. Cubs, Rockies, over 8.5. I think it's a fantastic wager today on a Friday. And enjoy it. Because
Love
it's
it.
not one of
That's
those
it for us today,
bets.
guys. Happy
That's
Friday. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Best of luck with your bets tonight. Go Florida State. Let's go Seminoles. Something I never thought that I would say ever. Hope you guys have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow for our college football show. It's going to be me and Mark Zino on. And Jared, good luck with your show tomorrow. We'll see you on Sunday for our NFL show. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.